In this video we're going to focus on the use of images on websites, and we're going to be using the Customer Relationship Manager example to help show how this can be done. So the aims of this exercise are to add a file upload option to the customer page. When the file gets uploaded, we want to allow access in a very controlled way, so if we're not logged in, then we are sent a default image, so we can protect the images. So the first thing we need to do is add an upload form to the customers page. So we're going to place this between the customer details and the notes form. So this is another form which posts the data. Enc part multi-part form data means we can post images, and we've got an input type file, and we also need to know the custom ID, so we're passing that as a hidden field. Notice how there is no submit button on this form. We'll come back to this in a minute. So this is the default file option box. Now if we choose a file, you can see that the image files are available. We can choose these, but things like PDFs we can't choose. So why is this? Well, if we look back at the input type, you can see it has an accept attribute. The accept attribute is where you specify the MIME type of the file you can accept. So in this case, we're saying any MIME type that starts with the word image. So image/JPEG, image/PNG, and so on. We currently have a form. You can choose a file, and there is no submit button because this button here is to do with the second form. So what we're going to do is modify this so the form automatically submits as soon as you've chosen a file. And to do this, we need to add a bit of JavaScript to the handlebars file. And what this does, it selects any input with a type of file, which is my input box here. And it adds an event listener, and it listens out for a change event. And the change event happens when I upload the file. So let's see what happens. So I choose a file, I pick the file, I click on choose, and it's submitted the form automatically. And it says file not found because I'm pointing to the secure image route, and I haven't set up the route for that yet. So that's the next thing to do. So we're going to add this to the secure.js. So let's put it at the bottom, and here's my new route. So what we're doing is we are going to console log uploading the file. We're posting to /image. We're going to, if we're not authorized, we're going to redirect back to the individual customer page. We're going to grab this object which contains the details of the file that we're looking at. And the file, the plate location is ctx.request.files. The word avatar, the avatar key comes from the form. So if we look at the form, you can see I specified name equals avatar. If you have multiple files uploading at the same time, as long as each has a separate name, you can access them successfully. So let's have a look at this. So we are grabbing the file, and then we're using a deconstructor in JavaScript to extract the path properties. So this is file.path. So we could write this, and then we're printing the path, which should be the path to where the file has been uploaded, and then we're going to redirect back to the customer page with the message file uploaded. So I choose the file, and it takes me back and says file uploaded. And you can see this is the path to the file, and you can see the file name has no extension. It's going to be given a hash as a name, and this is where we're going to access our uploaded image files. We can do a much better job of styling this particular input box. So we're going to hide this file selection, and we're going to use this as the file selection, turn this into a nice button. Here's all the inputs: input submit, input type equals submit hover. I'm going to tell it not to display the file inputs. And because we want to have the same style as the submit button, we're going to, after giving it a little class on there, we're going to add it these sets of styles. So we're going to apply the same style as the button. We've now got the choose file button. So let's see if this works. Yep, seems to work. You see the hash is different even though it's the same file. So So our next job is to create a function which handles this file being uploaded. And we're going to add this to the customer module. So here's a nice simple function which takes the customer and the path and prints them to the screen, and that's all it does. So the next thing to do is to call it inside the secure routes. So capture the path, and instead of console logging it, we're going to get rid of that, and we're going to create a new customer object and call the save image and pass it the customer ID from the body and the path. So choose a file. If you go to the log, you can see the customer to path is the path to the image. So we now need to manipulate this image and then save it somewhere safe. So the easiest thing to do is to copy the image into a folder on the server. So to do this, we're going to use a module called FS Extra, which gives us a lot of file system commands. So what we're going to do here is we're going to simply copy it into a folder called avatars. So the first thing we're going to do is use the ensure dir command, which basically creates the directory if it doesn't exist. It ensures the directory exists. And then we're going to copy the file into this particular folder. So we move the file from the temporary directory into the avatars directory. And if we look at the folder now, we have an avatars directory and we have an image, but the image has no file extension. There's a much easier way of doing it than this. So we import the sharp module. So we're going to get rid of this move. I'm going to replace it with a few steps. Right, the first thing, so we're going to specify where we're going to save the image. We're going to save it to the avatars folder, and we're going to save it as the word avatar followed by the customer number .jpg. And you'll see why this works in a minute. We remove the file if it's already there. Our JPEG settings are going to be 90%. We want a 200 pixel image, and we're going to use sharp. Now sharp is a asynchronous function. So we give it the path to the temporary file. We then convert it to a JPEG with the settings that we want. Then we resize it to width and height 200, and then we save it to the path and the file name we specified before. So if you're working with images, Sharp is a very, very useful package to learn and to understand. Now if we look in the avatars, we'll get rid of this old one, which was the one we had before. We now see we have an image called Avatar 2, and it's the photograph we uploaded cropped to 200 by 200 pixels. So now we need to find a way to access these images in a secure way. Now to do this, we need to import another module called CoaSend. So we now need another route to handle retrieving the images. And the way this is going to work is we're going to pass it the ID of the image we want, and then we're going to retrieve the image and send it back to the browser. So to do this, we need to have a module to handle retrieving the images. So in the customer module, we're going to have another one. We've got save image. We're now going to have get image. If the image you're looking for doesn't exist, we're going to have an error. Otherwise, we're going to return the name of the image that we want. So how are we going to use this? Well, we use it in just the same way as we did with any other function. So after we've checked to see whether we're securely logged in or not, we're going to create a new customer object called getImage and use send to send the image back to the browser. Now, what's interesting here is there's two things that could go wrong. If we're not authorized, or if the image doesn't exist. And if it doesn't exist, we're going to send back a generic image in its place. So we choose the file, we choose there we are. So if I specify image/2, we get our photograph back. If I specify 1, we get a generic image. And if we were to log out, we get the generic image again. So we've got a secure way of accessing our files. And now we need to display the image itself in this top corner of the page. So the first thing we need to do is place an image in the page header. So we'll stick it in there. And what we're using, we're using the host name, which is the local host 8080, secure images, and then the customer ID. So that will call the root with the correct customer ID. And there we have it. So as you can see, the images, the heading one was floating left, so the image is just to the right of it. So now we need to modify the image to position it in the top left-hand corner. So we're going to specify a width of 7. We're going to make it circular with a border radius of 50%, position absolute, and half a VW top and left. Okay, so you can see it's now positioned itself quite nicely in the top corner, but we need to add some margin to the heading to push the heading away from the image. We'll stick margin left on it. And there we have it. So the image is now positioned correctly. So we'll do it again. We'll go back to the previous page and we'll add Sherlock Holmes. It's positioned the generic picture in the top corner until we choose one. There we are. Sherlock Holmes. One final tip. When you save an image and then go back to the page, sometimes the image doesn't save in time to load into the page and you get a missing image on the page. To get around this problem, we need another event handler. So this one, we attach an event handler to the image which listens out for any errors. If it finds an error, which is normally an image not loading properly, it reloads the page. And what that will do, it'll keep reloading the page until the image is displaying properly.